Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be changing the spark plugs on my 1995 BMW M3. The process for changing the plugs is going to be the same on any E36 model, really anything with the straight 6-cylinder BMW engine here. So if you have a 325, 328, if it isn't an M3, the process is going to be exactly the same. As always, if you guys do find this video helpful, please like and subscribe on this video. I do a whole lot more than just DIY videos on my car. I do a lot of racing and track stuff, so if you do find some of that stuff interesting, go ahead and check out the channel.
I did want to pause the video and let you guys know that I did put a link in the description that will help you guys make sure you are ordering the correct plugs for your car's application. So go ahead in the description, check that out.
Alright, I'm first going to start off with just showing you what tools we need. Honestly, on a mechanic scale, I'd say this change is probably a 2 out of 10. If you can use, you know, a wrench or a socket wrench and get this plastic piece that's not here on this motor off, you'll be able to change the spark plugs. It's really not that difficult. That is something that I did want to know, actually. The plastic piece, this is actually a road racing car that I have, so it's my track car. There's normally a plastic piece on here. You guys are going to have to remove it to have access to the coils that we need to take off. And I obviously won't be able to show you that on this video because mine's not here. But I did want to show you what tools you guys need. You're just going to need a regular socket wrench, a 5/8 socket with the rubber in it, so the plugs will pull out when we go to do that. Another regular 5/8 drive, deep well sockets when we put the plugs back in. 10mm on this socket, and also a swivel is going to be very helpful to get that that last cylinder back here, because we do have really tight clearance here, and that's actually where we're going to start. We're going to do the one in the back. Let's get the hardest one out of the way first, and then we'll go ahead and change the other 5. First, what you're going to want to do is, well, I like to mark these coils, not only so I know where to put them back, it honestly doesn't matter. Just in the future, if you ever have problems and you do go have a misfire or something, you want to switch the coils, they are numbered, so you know which ones they have been on which cylinder. Another thing you're going to want to pay attention to is these plugs. That's the first thing you want to do, is take these plugs off of the coils. They're pretty easy. This metal clip just pulls out, and then these plugs should just pull right off. You are going to want to remember which one goes to where. So if you do need to mark these, go ahead and mark them. You can kind of tell by the lengths of the plugs which one they're going to go back into. But again, if you want to mark these as well with the corresponding cylinder, go ahead and do that. It makes things a lot easier, because if you mix these up, the thing is definitely not going to run right. So go ahead and just pull these plastic pieces back. Pull that back. There we go. Another thing I did want to mention, if you had just recently ran the car, this car is actually cold, I haven't started it recently. When these things drop down, just make sure they don't go right onto the header. That would not be good. So once you get these plugs off and out of the way, we're going to start with this back cylinder, because this is the hardest one. As you can see on 2 of these, there actually are some grounds. So when we put these back on, we're going to want to remember to put these grounds back on. There's a ground right here, and then in the front cylinder there's also a ground on this one right here. So grab your wrench, grab your socket wrench with the swivel on here, and a 10mm, and we're going to go ahead and get this back one out. There we go. So much easier with the swivel on here. Once you start it, you can probably just go ahead and grab it and finish it with your hand. Go ahead and pull that out. Ground's off. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of this swivel because we don't need it for the rest of them. And once you have those 2 bolts out, you can just pull up on this coil and it should pop right off. There it is. I'll set that over here. Now we're just going to repeat the process for the other 5 cylinders. I'll put it in fast forward because it's pretty much exactly the same as the one we just did. Alright, once you get all the bolts off, we can go ahead and pull the rest of these coils out. And next we're going to want to put the 5/8 drive spark plug wrench on the socket here and start taking the plugs out. So just like with the coils, we're going to start with this rear cylinder because it's the hardest to get to. Might as well do it first. Just have one normal extension on it with your plug socket. You can just barely slip it in there. There you go. It's on the plug. There we go. You can go ahead and take that off and probably get it by hand once you get it loose. Also, if you don't have a plug wrench with that piece of rubber in the socket, you can use a normal 5/8 deep socket like this one to loosen it. It just won't pull the plug out of the cylinder here. What you're going to have to do after that is maybe get a magnet or something to go down there and grab it, or some needle nose pliers will work if you have long enough ones to pull the plug out of the head here. Alright, it is loose now. I'll pull the plug out. This one looks pretty wet because it's got some fuel on it for sure. It's probably because I started it cold, moved it out here, and then shut it right back off. But another way of actually telling how the motor is running is to read the plugs. This one does, like I said, have some fuel on it, but I can look past that and see that the cylinder is running nice. Some telltale signs of how the motor is running. If this is completely covered and is really, really black, you got a lot of unburnt fuel, and it's running rich, so that's obviously a problem. Especially on a stock car, it might be no too bad, O2 sensor or something wrong with it. If this is very, very white, almost kind of like this aluminum color, then you know that cylinder is running lean. It's very hot. It's not getting enough fuel. That's also a problem. What you kind of want is your plugs to look like this one, just like a nice bronze tint to it. That shows that this cylinder is running properly. So go ahead and pull this plug out, and then we're going to repeat this process for the other 5 cylinders. Yep, and don't do that. Alright, now that we got all 6 of the plugs out of here, what we're going to do is just grab the new ones and put them in. These should come gapped from wherever you buy them at the parts store. You can also check the gap on it. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm sure you can look it up anywhere on Google and find the gap if you do want to grab the plug and check it. I'm going to go with what they gave me from the parts store. These are actually racing plugs. This is a track car. These are a couple steps colder on the plugs. If you're just changing this on a stock car, don't go with these plugs. You definitely don't need them. Alright, once you have your new plugs out of the package and we're ready to put them back in, what you're going to do is just take them and drop them into the cylinder holes. That's totally okay. Don't be scared. You can just drop them down there. They're not going to go anywhere. Alright, now once they're in there, we're going to take this socket off, and then we're going to put our normal deep well 5/8 drive on here just so it doesn't stick on the plug when we're done. And then go ahead and tighten these guys. So with new plugs, they have crush washers on them. Once you get this snug by hand, we're going to put the socket wrench on it, And you do want to be careful. If you strip this, it's really, you're not going to have a good day, because you don't want to strip the head. That is terrible. So once they're snug, like I said, they do have a crush washer in it, so they're going to get tight, and you do want to go past that because you want to crush that crush washer for the first time. So you'll feel it. It's kind of maybe about a half turn. That's pretty snug. Then it goes, you'll feel when the crush washer is completely crushed down and gets tight. That's where you want to stop. These don't have to be crazy, crazy tight. Let's do this again. I'll just kind of show you. Oh, I gotta tighten this. So I just snugged it up with my hand again. Let's just watch this. There's a quarter turn. There's about a half turn is where that gets tight. And then that's it. And then we're just gonna do the same thing for the rest of them. All right. Now once they're all tight, next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and put the coils back on. All right, now we're gonna grab a coil, and we're gonna start with the cylinder in the rear again. Just make sure to get this ground out of the way so you don't pinch it when you put it in there. Slide your coil in there, get your plug out of the way, grab that ground, and then just push it down onto the top of the plug, just like that. All right, once that's in there, you'll feel it pop right on there. It's not super, super snug, but it's on there. If you pull back a little bit, you'll feel that it clipped onto the plug. Go ahead and grab 2 bolts. Very important to make sure you first put this through this ground. We need this ground for it to run. And then go ahead and start it by hand. We're going to put these down as far as we can by hand before grabbing the wrench. Or the socket, I'm sorry. And once again, we're going to grab our swivel here and put that on with our 10. We'll get that back one first. There we go. Again, you don't have to tighten these too much. They really don't need to be that snug. See, that's fine. Get rid of the swivel. And just snug this one down. That's it. And then I'll put this in fast forward. I'm just going to do the other 5 cylinders. Alright, again, just a reminder on that last cylinder, don't forget to put that ground in on there. And then once they are all nice and snug, we go ahead and put our plugs back on. Just pull these metal clips up, push your plug in. Alright, so we got all 6 clips back on the plugs. Everything's nice and tight. Both grounds are on the front and back. We're going to go ahead and start it up, make sure it runs right, make sure there's no lights on the dash. No lights, no misfires, everything looks good. As always, thanks you guys so much for watching. If you did find this helpful, please like and subscribe. Really helps the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you are into road racing, drag racing, I do a lot of other stuff on the channel, so go ahead and check it out. I'll see you guys next time.